What's going on, guys, and welcome back. As you can see behind me, it is finally time to stud my boost. So we've talked a ton about what our recommendations would be to stud a sled, especially a boost sled, which is directly right from Woody's themselves, which is a minimum of 3 studs per bar or per window, however you want to call it. So that is actually what I am doing. I have never been a ginormous, excessive amount of stud type guy, especially even on our naturally aspirated stuff. I ran just 2 per bar, and that was really it. So with the extra power and Woody's recommendation, we are going to do 3 per bar. So obviously I am running Woody studs. They are a big supporter of myself and of Bruce and Southside Sales and Service. And they were awesome enough to send these products out to me. So big shout out to them. They are the best in the industry when it comes to traction products. We've talked a ton about them. And, it's just made in the USA too, which is awesome. So it's a 137 boost. We're doing 3 per bar. So that works out to be 144. Last year's sled, my XCR sitting over there, did 2 per bar, and we did megabytes on that. So what we have here are Woody's Signature Series triggers. So I know a lot of you guys are extremely fond of the triggers. I've actually never run them, but again, working with Rick from Woody's, he's like, let's run some triggers on that thing this year and see how you like them. So I could kind of do an overview of what we have. So what is a trigger? Trigger is it's better penetration into whatever surface you're running on. For whether it's a hard surface or ice, this is the best and most penetration that you could possibly get. It's the most aggressive tip design that Woody's actually has to offer. And at the same token, it's still a Woody's carbide tip. So you still have the quality there along with the performance of it. So I'm excited to get these in there. They are serious looking, as you guys can see on my little workbench that I set up here. And so we're gonna get to installing these. So if you go on Woody's online and you order any of this, they have templates for every single track, stud pattern that you wanna do. Little miscommunication, he thought I had one. I actually don't have a pattern, so he went out of his way on Christmas Eve to send me the dimensions of what it is. So we're just gonna be going through and measuring instead of having a template. Again, that was just a miscommunication on our part. But the biggest thing when studding it, and we see this all the time, is people are, studs are flying out, they're ripping out, they're going through heat exchangers, which is why we run our tunnel protectors. But you can't, if you throw a stud, it doesn't matter if you have tunnel protectors or not. So pretty much the biggest tip when you're installing these, and most of the time, guys, when you do it, you're gonna be inside of a shop. So it's gonna be from, just say 50 degrees to 70 degrees. I think it's, what is it in here? 67 degrees in here today. So that rubber is gonna be expanded. So when you torque these, which on 2-ply tracks, so you're gonna have your megabytes, your triggers, and your gold diggers, you're gonna torque them to 15 foot-pounds. And then on the 2-ply, which is like your Grandmaster, you're gonna torque them to 30 foot-pounds. So anyway, so your track is nice and warm and, expanded right now. Well, then it goes and sits outside in 0-degree weather and it's gonna shrink. So pretty much the biggest tip that we can give you guys is retorque them after your first ride and then retorque them every couple 100 miles. That is gonna be your best bet to not have any type of issues with studs pulling out, going through heat exchangers, ripping out, anything like that. So that is like the biggest thing, and it was a big thing that we touched on when we were at the Big E show when we were with him was, make sure to retorque them. And I know that's a lot of work because there's 144 of them, so you gotta go through it 144 more times to retorque them, but you don't wanna be left stranded on the side of a trail, so it's worth the extra, 30 minutes with you got, your buddies in the shop just retorquing them and going through. So we are gonna get started here. We got a long day ahead of us. I got a helper.
I told you, no.
I got a helper, and we're gonna get this done. So I'll check back in here in a little bit. All right, so 2 hands or 4 hands is always a big help here. So pretty much what we're doing, just to make it not super monotonous and just mark all the way around the track and then drill all the way around the track and then push the studs all the way around the track. We're doing, so this pattern repeats itself every 6 windows. So we're doing 6 windows, marking, drilling, putting the studs in, tightening them, and then going to the next 6. Just makes it, like I said, not so monotonous. But these are, and I think I forgot to say this, these are 1.45 triggers. So we could have went with the 1.35s, I believe they are, but I wanted a little bit more penetration. So we went with the little bit longer ones. This is, I run the 145 megabytes on the XCR last year, so these are more than fine. Again, it's a 1.352 track, but the lugs really aren't that tall. It's more like an 1.25 inch track, not a 1.35. So we should have plenty of penetration. So we're just gonna keep on keeping on here. And just like that, we are done. So it is definitely time consuming, but it's well worth it when you see the finished product. It's always been one of those things that's super satisfying to me when you have brand new studs and practically a brand new track. They just look very pretty. They look, for lack of better terms, badass when you look down the tunnel. So that's it. We're gonna throw the flap on and we're gonna go from there. So it is time to get this thing back on snow. I'm very interested because I have just about 80 miles on it with no studs, which again, I haven't rode no studs in 100 years. So it's gonna be really interesting to see how much better it hooks up now that we have 144 Woody's triggers in it. A lot of guys like the plastic backers just because of weight. So obviously everything that you put on here is, you know, rotating weight, and the less rotating weight you have, the better. The problem is, and you know, this is a pretty good, interesting trick, you know, put a plastic backer in the freezer for, you know, overnight, and wake up in the morning and take a hammer and smash it and see what happens to it. And that's what these things are getting. You know, you're running through rocks, across roads and everything. That's obviously an exaggerated version of it, but you know, that's why we like to go with the steel or metal backers, because they're just, there's less of an opportunity for something to go wrong. And that's what we'll leave it at. But big shout out to Woody's Traction Products for being part of this build and supporting me, you know, throughout the last couple of years. I'm excited to be on their team. And we also have some new Mavericks down there, but I'm not gonna put them on until we get a little bit better snow conditions and we're into the season. So these are Mavericks from last year, so I'm just gonna keep them on there. But that is gonna do it, guys. We are all studded up and ready to rumble. So I'm gonna do some cleanup here, and that's gonna do it, guys. So make sure to like, make sure to subscribe, make sure to go to 322threads.com and get all your merch, and I'll see you guys in the next one.